by the blood of our people are your lands kept safe.
I see in your eyes the same fear that will take the heart of me.
So do all who live to see such times.
By all that you hold dear, this good earth.
There's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It is finally here. The Rings of Power episode 1 and 2 dropped today. We just finished watching them and then hopped on the mic to talk about it. So I guess, yeah, what are you thinking? What were your first thoughts?
Well, I'm just all day. I'm like, wow, the day is here. We kind of. I don't remember when we started doing these videos. It's been almost a year, I think, just building up.
Yeah, just over actually. So we started in August because we didn't actually know the release date at the time. It was just we started to get some serious buzz around it, so we decided to start talking about it.
So it's like, wow, time passes and we're here.
And I want to say back then, we were right. We basically called exactly how this is going to play out. We were going to get a bunch of still images. We were going to get some trailers, and everyone was going to go crazy. And most of that stuff was in the first 2 episodes. Like
almost everything the trailer covers.
Almost everything. There's a few scenes that are not in the first 2 episodes, but most of the stuff is right there in the trailer. And a lot of it was a lot less important. But because it was a trailer, that's all we had. People were like hyper focused on very specific scenes that ended up just kind of being just a fun, nonchalant scene. So I think we did a good job at staying relatively level-headed when it came to some of these trailers and what we were seeing, because all sorts of takes about how this thing couldn't have happened or this. I mean, heck, like a lot of the stuff even was in almost like a prologue.
Yep.
Like basically a lot of the stuff that we see in terms of like Galadriel fighting is in a semi-prologue. So, I think we did a good job there. I think we didn't get too overblown with all this stuff, especially when, back in the day we were talking about potentially Peter Jackson being on board, Howard Shore coming back, and then we started getting some stills, and then those stills were very different looking than what we were used to, and it kind of caught us off guard at the time. But I think, we said let's just see how this plays out in the show, and I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know where my expectations were going in. It was hard for me to kind of pinpoint my feelings, but I came away at the end very pleasantly surprised and for the most part happy.
Me too. I'd agree. And I've been pumped all day waiting for it, and
I was pumped, but were you pumped in I can't believe we get to go back to Middle Earth, or were you pumped in a we've been doing this for a year, finally we actually get to talk about this show?
Both. I think both.
Yeah.
But anyway, I took notes. Did you take notes?
I did. I have them here somewhere.
Okay.
I was taking it, but I wanted a movie atmosphere, so pitch black and sitting on my couch. So I was like, I don't know if I typed them out really well.
I hand wrote mine, on a notepad. I sat with a notepad.
I had a super dim tablet beside me that I was basically typing with one hand. So a lot of this is like really weird.
But anyway, my first thing was, okay, so I sat down at like a little before 9, and then when I pressed play, instead of the show playing, it just played the trailer.
Yeah, me too.
So I wonder if anyone else did that.
Because the funny thing is, if you go to episodes, and I don't know if you did this, but if you go to episodes, all of the trailers are labeled episode 0, so you gotta cycle through like 5 episodes.
It took me 2 minutes. So I started about 1 minute and 10 seconds late. So I was watching it being like, damn, everyone else is like a minute ahead of me right now.
That's better than me, because I basically thought I had the similar problem. I thought my Prime account or something was broken, so I legit just turned my TV off and back on to see if it would have refreshed because my Prime is built into my smart TV.
Okay.
So I was thinking, oh, my TV's kind of screwy with the clock. So I was like, shut it off, turn it on. So I was like 5-ish minutes late. But I didn't care too much. I was like, you know what? People are going to see it 5 minutes ahead of me. But you know, once at the end of it, we're all going to be at the same pace. And hopefully next week I can catch back up.
Anyway, just going through my things, we saw Elf Kids. I've never seen Elf Kids before.
True. We did.
That was fun. That was fun.
It was.
And we learned that from the still, like the first still they released, the guy walking up, that is Galadriel's brother.
Mm-hmm.
I have his name written,
I was-
Finrod.
I was actually surprised. Yeah, I was actually surprised at how, so that was the first image ever released, and that was in, I guess, the second scene technically, because the first scene is the boat race, or I guess just floating of the boat. But yeah, I was surprised at how early we saw that. I was like, oh wow, so, you know, they didn't show us something way in the future of the show. This is like legit first scene or second scene. Here's your still. It is a beautiful still. I know why they picked it. I mean, it looks fantastic.
I was gonna comment that Morphid, if I'm saying her name right, she has a nice voice. I like her narrating.
Yep.
Okay, so then we end up, just following my notes, we end up at the ice pick scene with the knife.
Yep.
And then there's the naysayer elf I wrote down named Thondir, and he wants to go home. And what Galadriel is doing is they're hunting Sauron.
Yeah.
And okay, now we have a troll. There's a troll fight. We have that also in the
Well,
trailer.
actually, just before you get there, I wanted to quickly jump in and say we had the scene that everyone kind of was making fun of, where Galadriel's like, "No, we keep going," and it's kind of a fake out because
they're there already.
So yeah, not only are they there, but also, so she's saying that not knowing how severe, like, so she doesn't actually know what's happened. It seems like, so she's in the front of this kind of line of people or elves, sorry, and she doesn't realize that someone's fallen, so she just thinks someone's like, oh, we gotta slow down and rest. She's like, no, we keep going. And then when someone's like, no, look, and then she sees her fallen comrade, then she's like,
goes
oh,
and
okay.
helps.
So the trailer does not do that scene justice properly. It makes her come across as really like cold, and what's really going on is she's just driven. It's not supposed to be her coming across as mean. Like, that's not.
No,
yeah.
you keep moving. This reminds me of like my parents when you're a little kid and your feet hurt, and you're like, God knows where what. No,
Well,
we keep moving.
and also just before we get to the troll, there's the moment where we learn that the darkness or the evil in this place is making the fire cold. Like, it's an interesting magic at work, and we're gonna see that later on, potentially. So that's just an interesting thing to pick up on there. I didn't realize that like was a thing. I wasn't aware of that. So yeah, then we get to this troll, like you said.
That was awesome. And remember the Moria when it took like all 9 of them to fight that thing?
Yep.
Galadriel takes it on herself, like
Well,
entirely.
with
Men are useless. Her
Yeah.
men don't.
well, but she does have the help of the kind of like launch pad, so she does have a little bit of assistance. But yeah, once she gets in the air, her movement is, and we kind of see Legolas pull something similar off, right? Once he sees Frodo go down, he kind of goes into like elf rage mode and runs up a chain on top of this thing. So, you know, yeah, I think it was actually much better seeing it in full, especially seeing the intro of the troll, because I was even gonna say this troll, if it just comes around the corner, they'll just blast it with arrows. But the troll was actually smart. Like, it's a smarter troll than I think we're used to, because all of a sudden it kind of creeps out, sees what they're doing, and like hurls this like giant like icicle at them, and it catches them off guard, which is a bit of a twist. They're not used to seeing trolls kind of outthink people like that, or outthink elves.
Then we have a bit of a mutiny. Everyone wants to go home.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, mutiny time. What are we gonna do? Poor Galadriel.
And it seems like she's just going to continue on her own, but she doesn't. She goes back with the rest of them. And now I think we cut to it was also in the trailer, those guys with the antlers.
Yep.
They were human hunters. Clearly,
Mhm.
those were hunters. They hunted those elk. And I liked seeing the Harfoots because even in the intro, they're kind of hiding, and so the hunters are walking by and they're just remaining hidden. And that's in the intro to the Hobbit book, isn't it? When he's telling us about what hobbits are, and he's saying they're still around today. You just don't see them; they stay hidden.
Yeah,
if they want
it's
to.
actually, I was in the same exact mindset of you. I was like, oh, this actually is a bit of a true like representation of the words there, because they're hiding basically in the exact field that those hunters are walking by. And the hunters kind of know that they're there, but have like no way of detecting them unless you like step on one accidentally, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, and it goes into why Gandalf chose a hobbit to be his burglar for a quest for the Arkenstone.
That's right.
Yeah, I like that.
Now in terms of having hobbits, so that was actually one of the big concerns a lot of people are having, and it was one that I also was potentially having as the show was creeping closer and closer. And I didn't hate it. I actually thought that their little setup and their like the characters that we meet there, they are slightly different enough from the hobbits that we know, just in terms of their lifestyle, that it doesn't make you feel like they're out of place by just slapping the Shire down in the middle of this story. You know what I mean? Like this is a different group almost, and that's sort of the point. So to me, I actually thought that the way that they've depicted these particular hobbits or Harfoots are, it works for what they're trying to tell.
Mm-hmm. And I have a note saying Nori is very Tookish.
Yeah.
She's Tookish. And they go into that garden with the berries. I'm like, oh, they're bringing out like the carefree lifestyle of the Shire a little bit there. I like that.
Because like we see that apparently that is an old farm that it's been destroyed and it's never been rebuilt. But you can see them kind of enjoying that idea already, like the fact that you get these berries here. You don't have to just like forage for snails and other kind of things. You can like have this huge collection of berries. Unfortunately, it's guarded by some scary things, so you can't spend too much time there.
Yeah, that's the first time we've seen a warg in the wild, right? We haven't. We've always seen the domesticated ones. My next note just says the visuals are great, so I think that was kind of showing the elven cities. Yep. And I also said I'm a fan of the accents. I like Elfdelf. I like when Galadriel says Elrond or however she said it.
I agree. I think that's it. There's a little bit of it there in Jackson's films, but here they made it clear. Basically, you could close your eyes, listen, and know which group is speaking. And I think that is a neat way to differentiate them, especially because, Harfoots have barely been in contact with anyone, so they really shouldn't have picked up any dialects that aren't their own. And then obviously elves at this point in time are still trying to, they still believe themselves to be like the saviors of Middle-earth, it seems. Like they're still sort of almost like the caretakers. Like they've got these watchtowers with guards just kind of like monitoring for evil, like so they kind of view themselves as that. And so having them have a different dialect, I like it too, and I actually think it worked really well. I think, like you said, the visuals are great, and this is something we talked about a lot already in other videos, but the practical effects, they really come through here, and I think they need praise for that. No matter if you like the story or not, the fact that they're trying to use those practical effects as much as possible. There was a few moments that I thought they could have added more in, like the warg, for example. We don't actually see it in its full yet, so that really didn't need to be CGI to me. But there's a lot of practical there that I really like. Like you can see that the actors actually have something to touch and work with right in front of them.